So if you're thinking about doing a podcast, I highly suggest you use Anchor, and here's why. Now, first things first, it's free, and you can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. I'm talking dollar bills, y'all. Plus, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you to the major platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a bunch of others, so that's one less thing you got to worry about. And they got all the tools you need to record and edit your podcast in one spot, and you can do all that from your phone or your computer. So, in my opinion, it's really the easiest way to make a podcast. Now, if that's what you're looking for and you're ready to jump on it, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What up, though? Welcome to Tamara to the Break of Dawn, the show where you'll literally ride my train of thought as I discuss the different types of challenges and struggles that we all can relate to. I'm your host, Tamara Dawn, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, you already know the struggle could be way too real sometimes, so my hope is that these shows will challenge and inspire you as I basically share the areas that I'm trying to grow in. So let's get it. Alright, y'all, we about to dive a little bit deeper into this whole revelation I'm getting about why I'm single, and this one is a little bit more uncomfortable to talk about, so we'll see how this goes, but I really do want to talk about it because I really do want this to be a place. I know there's other people that probably feel this way, so that's, I share for that very reason. I don't want people to feel like they're the only one that feels a certain kind of way, because that is one of the biggest lies that people believe, and it creates isolation and it creates all kinds of just unhealthy thought processes or whatever. So here we go. It's so interesting because when I have had, or when I do have, I should say, conversations with people, especially people who don't know me, because like people who know me and have known me for the most part know I'm single, and I've been single for now 12 years. And so it's always interesting to me when people who don't know that about me find out, and they seem like surprised, like they just assume I'm with someone. And to me that's weird, because I've been single so long that like if I was to get into a relationship, I don't know. I don't even know how to. I would have to learn how to be in a relationship, and whoever would have to be very patient, because I'm just very independent. It's just me and my kids, and especially now that I mainly just focus on creative projects, I don't know. I'm not saying I wouldn't make time for anybody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, I don't know. It's been so long that I've been single. I just feel so far removed from that. But a common question that I've gotten over the years is like, well, do you put yourself out there? And it's funny because I remember a friend of mine, because I journal a lot, and I kind of always have. When I was a little kid, I had a diary or whatever, and so I journal a lot, and I journal a lot about just whatever. And I just remember her saying, like, you got to put yourself out there. You act like that journal's about to, grow some legs and turn into a man or whatever. And yeah, that sounds silly. That wasn't necessarily my thought at all, but just like, as I've said, vulnerability it's very uncomfortable with someone. And then there's also the part where I know this is not true, because I've seen articles and stuff where they say the right one will this, that, and the other. But I just always have this thought in my head, but I guess we could say it's kind of a fear. So there's this thought in my head that like I'm too much just too extra, too just whatever. And some people do tell me like you do too much, or you're not. No, not you do too much, but you're doing the most. Even like Christmas, when I decorated for Christmas, you know, I love Christmas decorations. I love the people who sacrifice their electricity bill. Their electricity bill for the betterment of humanity by having beautiful light displays outside with all the extra and whatever. Like, it really, really, really makes me happy. And every year, I take my kids. I don't care how old you are. We gonna go, long as you somewhere around where I could come swoop you up. And we go look at Christmas lights as a family. And it just makes me happy. And so then one year, I decided, and this was like several years ago, I decided that I was going to start creating some of that like Christmas magic like within my house. And then Christmas that just passed, you know, it was more light focused. Like last year, I got into this whole gift wrapping theme. And that's the thing too, it's never the same every year, because everything for me is a creative process, and it's like, what am I feeling? I am very led by my feelings. If I don't check that and my emotions and how I feel, and sometimes I think that's okay. Like it's good to be very passionate and expressive, whatever, because it helps me like with my creative projects. And so for me, Christmas decorating is like another creative expression. And so it's this process of like, almost like, what is this speaking to me? When does it tell me when it's done? Like, even when I record, I have I start and I stop when I feel like I'm done. And sometimes that takes longer than other times, but it's whatever. So like last year, 2018 Christmas, somebody had told me about, the whole idea of like gift wrapping your presents. So like putting wrapping paper around, not your presents, the pictures on your wall. So I put wrapping paper, bruh. I gift wrapped every picture on my wall. And we have a lot of pictures, a lot of family pictures, and even just paintings and whatever. I gift wrapped all of them Christmas 2018. I even gift wrapped the bookshelves and not the cupboards. I can't think of what these other things are called on each side. There's a fireplace in my dining room, but these like cabinets, or I don't know, these things that have shelves and whatever, whatever. I gift wrapped them. I even gift wrapped. I'm gonna get it together, y'all. Excuse me. I even gift wrapped my paper shredder, and it made me happy. That was my creative expression for Christmas 2018. Christmas 2019, on the other hand, I gift wrapped key areas. So like, I have had 2 trees this year because I bought a newer tree on clearance, at the end of Christmas 2018. So I had 2 trees this year, one in my living room, one in my dining room. And then I had lights in the kitchen, over the cabinets, and around the door that goes to the deck. And then I had lights around behind the TV in the living room and on the entertainment center. Of course, lights on the trees, lights over the fireplace, stockings, little snowman theme, figurines, whatever. But then I had areas of the room that were like, I didn't do anything. Like last year, I did my office because it's like off the living room. This year, I didn't do anything in there. And really, the living room, there was like a corner that was more whatever, whereas last year was like all through. So, that was what. But my kids said, they was just like, you doing the most. And I'm all happy, you know what I mean? And like, no shade to them, because teenagers are raggedy sometimes anyway, or just anti whatever. No, I won't say that, because my youngest actually did help me decorate the trees, and then kind of sat there for moral support while I let my room speak to me. And it's funny because a friend of mine called me when I was in the middle of it, and he asked me if I was busy, and it's like, well, no, because I was like trying to figure out what I needed to do, because I didn't, like I said, when it tells me it's done, then it's done. So all of that to say, it was, you're doing too much, you're doing the most. I mean, not you're doing too much, you're doing the most. And it's interesting because I've always previously been drawn towards men who are similar to me. So like they write, or they rap, or they do spoken word, or they do whatever, and they're just very much like me, creative. Sometimes we would work on creative projects together, and just drawn to them, even be it friendship or whatever. And like, they're so much like me that I'm the kind of person that I have a very strong personality from what I've been told. So I'm the kind of person that, though if someone else has a strong personality, I'm going to kind of like yield to that, because I don't want to feel like I'm fighting to be heard or be whatever. I don't really like to yell. Like, I do sometimes get my voice carries, but like yelling and getting all whatever, that's not really me for the most part. So it's like being around men like that, it always has made me not like water myself down, but I feel like I'm not fully all me. So then me knowing that, and you saying I'm doing too much or doing the most, and you're only getting a portion of who I am, it's just created this, I don't know, where it's like, well, man, I'm too much. Because I know I'm with me every day. I know how I am. Like, I've talked about how I would question, be married to somebody 50 years and be like, are you sure you still want to be married to me? Like, I would ask that, you know what I mean? And I don't know why I'm like that. I just am. And there's just, I don't know. And so it's just created this, like, this fear that, and I don't like that word, because I don't like how saying fear in conjunction with this makes me feel. Maybe it's way more vulnerable than I want to be, but whatever, we out here, I'm going to go ahead and put this up there. So it is what it is. But I just have this fear that, like, after a while, somebody would just get tired or be drained or whatever. And so because of that, I don't put myself out there. Like, even if I don't know, feel like maybe somebody, because usually I can tell when somebody's interested, but a lot of times how it goes is people tell me after the fact, like, I used to like you, and I'm like, what are you telling me this for now? How is this helpful now? Why didn't you tell me when you did or whatever? And because sometimes it's been that I was kind of feeling them too, but I didn't want to say nothing. And so, but everything happens for a reason. It is what it is. It obviously wasn't meant to be. And usually that's what you see later. Like, people are in other relationships, are married, and no, I'm not salty or nothing like that. But I'm just saying, like, I just, have this fear, this whole I'm too much. And it's kind of like, I've seen articles on, Facebook. I've seen it a lot on Facebook lately, where it'll say, the right one won't be worried about this, that, or whatever. And I'll read those articles. See, now we're getting into, and I'll like read those articles, and there's just like this, what's the word? How can I describe it? Kind of like this, it stings, because it's just highlighting a desire, because all of us, we want to be seen, We want to be heard. We want to be cherished. We want to be, accepted for who we are, flaws and all. None of us are perfect. Like, I'm not staying single because I don't want to be in a relationship. I very much do have that desire. But if you've paid attention, the reasons why I've remained single are like fear-based, or not wanting to project my own issues on people or whatever. I'm still trying to work through whatever. And so it's like when I read these articles, and even friends that I've known, because there's like people that I've known that are married, and I like to ask about their story, quote unquote, or whatever. Like, how did y'all end up together? Because it's always different, and it's just something that's interesting to me. Like, people, behavior patterns, and whatnot. These are just things that fascinate me. I like to people watch when I'm in public, and I like to make up stories about, what I think they're talking about or whatever, and, make it funny or whatever. So it's like, when I read these articles, or when people tell me their story, and you hear about, someone actually really, like, you go through highs and lows with, someone that you go through the hard times, but also celebrate the victories, or they accept, whatever your flaws are. Like, someone accepting the fact that I'm gonna ask all these questions, like, that if you try to talk to me, you're gonna have to tell me, like, why in detail, go slow, so I can, like, be in tune with what you're saying and take it all in, and like, just be patient with me. And the thought of anyone out there being like that, and it's mainly based on what my experiences have been. I have not obviously had that experience, because even relationships that I had, let's not even get into, forget the situationships like I talked about. Let's talk about the actual relationships I've had. In my adult life, I've only had 2 relationships. My son's dad and my ex-husband, who my daughter's their dad, and he's, now deceased. And those were not good relationships. No shade to really either of them, because I'm not saying either of them were bad people or whatever. And when it comes to my son's dad, I could take a lot of the blame for at least the way it ended, and some of the things I did in the aftermath of our breakup were just wrong, and I'll own that. And I've, like, since apologized to him many years ago or whatever. But when I was in those relationships, and now that I realized this a long time ago, but it's like, we weren't the best fit for each other, for how we're wired and how our personalities are. And when you have situations like that, it just creates damage, and maybe even confirms insecurities you had, or increases them. And so this is why I'm such a firm believer in, self-care, and working on yourself, and being emotionally healthy or whatever, because, and that's kind of why I didn't jump into a relationship like just kind of after my divorce, was like, okay, let me just for real do me, and take some time and kind of figure out how we got here or whatever. But then the longer I've been alone, it's like, I cannot imagine somebody wanting to really, be bothered. I guess that's the word I'm going to use. But don't hear this like I don't have low self-esteem, or I think I'm dope. No, I know I'm dope. I know I have a good heart. I know I love hard when I do, when I know you're for me. Like, man, I know that about me. I wasn't always like that, but I am as I've grown to even just understand what love is and what that really means or whatever. And so I'm not saying this in this, oh, woe is me, but we all have insecurities. We all have whatever. And I'm just kind of like, you're not alone. But it's like, what do we do with that? And so what I've really been trying to work on, and it's interesting because I have to work on this in friendships, because even in friendships, it can be scary to like put yourself out there or really be you or feel like you're going to be fully accepted for who you are. Sometimes that's hard even in just a friendship. It just depends what you've been through. And I've had friendships, and a lot of the friendships have been with guys that have had just been a mess or whatever. But still, it still creates wounds and confusion in your mind or whatever. And so I've really just been trying to do whatever I got to do to get those thoughts out, because if I just let those thoughts, continue to remain in my head and focus on them and accept them, they're going to grow and bear some kind of fruit. You know what I mean? They're going to cause me to create bigger wedges in relationships or whatever. And so it's kind of like, what I've really been trying to do is just be true to who I am, be true to how I feel, and be true to what I want to do. So if I want to text a friend and be in whatever, then I do it. And I'm not perfect at this, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother them, or I don't want to or I don't want to whatever. Because sometimes I do feel like I don't want to bother people, but then it's like, why would I feel like I'm a bother? You know what I mean? If this is my friend, what happened? Why do I have this lie that I believe? And it's something that I have to a lot of times have this inner dialogue where I'm like, okay, no, this is so and so, and they are, really your friend or whatever. So it's like, it's okay. And I have to kind of like coach myself through these moments of whatever. And so it's just a very interesting thing, because I don't think I was always like that, but just adulthood has, and I don't know how many years, we'll say decade, we'll say longer, because really probably seeds were planted a long time ago, and then different things watered them to make them grow and whatever. But I'm trying to pull them weeds and them roots up out, because I do want to have a relationship, but I don't want to come into a relationship with all this like baggage. And I don't know though, maybe sometimes people help you work through that type of stuff. I don't really know, because I've just been single. But sometimes maybe sometimes the best thing for you is to have someone genuinely love you, just to, like they say, oh, show you why it didn't work out with everybody else, or whatever. Maybe you do need that. Maybe you do need somebody that is just patient and gracious with you, just so it could reflect like genuine love. I don't know. Like I said, I've just been single, so yeah. And then this whole idea of being too much, what does that even mean? How? And that's what I'm saying, it's a constant battle. How I'm telling y'all last week, you're dope, we're this, we're that, and I believe that. I genuinely believe that. I genuinely know that I am a pretty dope human being. I know that my people that are in my life, my friends, whatever, love and care about me or whatever. So that's true. I know that's true. But then I have to fight the lies of, you're too much, you're too extra, you're doing too much, you're draining, whatever. Because that's a thing too. Like, when I think of and hear you doing too much, it makes me feel like, oh, I'm going to be draining to somebody. And I'm not trying to like drain anybody. And I know for me personally, people who are Like, people who are like me are draining to me. And people who are not like me, who are like more calm and more steady and or whatever, give me life. Because for one, why I think people who are like me are draining to me, because of this whole thing where like I said, I don't know if I said it or not, so I'm gonna say it, because I'm like, did I say it? I feel the need to, like, I guess, like, hold back, because it's like, it doesn't need to be this power struggle. That's the word. It doesn't need to be that, because we both have strong personality. It's cool. You can, it's not that deep. And so maybe because I'm doing that, because I'm warring against who I am inside and I'm not being true to who I am, maybe that's the part that's draining. Maybe I should be true to who I am, but sometimes it just feels like this. So it's just like, it's not that deep. You go ahead, you do you, boo-boo, and, whatever. But the people who are not like me and who are calm, it gives me life, and I don't know. So I've grown to appreciate the friends that I have who are like nothing like me. And of course there are some similarities, you know what I mean? But like, I've grown lately to really, really appreciate the people who are not like me, because they help keep me grounded. Like, when I'm going on my little whatever with my feelings, it's like I need somebody who's calm and steady. Not like I can't talk myself, whatever, but if I'm talking to you about it, let's not hype each other up, and so sometimes that's why I'll just talk to different people than maybe what I used to, just because I need to stay more grounded. Because for me, if I get too led by my feelings, it's just a mess. And I was there for a while as part of my grief process. And so I've just really trying to find healthier ways to just, because I can't change what happened, no matter how much I wish it was different, no matter how much this year is hard, because it's, my oldest daughter's senior year, so everything is just this, it's bittersweet. Like, you want to just celebrate, but then you're even that much more reminded of the absence. And so I'm really not trying to be led by my emotions and think a little bit more logically. And so I've kind of had to have people around who, not because they're trying to help me because they feel like they need to do anything, but more so just that's just who they are as a person, and it's just helpful. So I don't know. If ever, it'll be, it's funny, I'll be thinking about, it'll be interesting if I end up in a relationship. I guess y'all will have got to hear the growth, because it'll be interesting if I end up in a relationship. I can't fathom that right now, like, literally at all. I just can't. Like I said, I feel like I'm just a lot. That's the word I use for myself, is I just feel like I'm a lot. But it's like, what does that even mean? I'm just me. So how, like, I don't know. But that's really how I feel, is like I'm just a lot. So it's just like, I don't know. But it'll be interesting if I do end up in a relationship, what those episodes will, sound like, or how that'll shift or whatever. I don't know. But in the meanwhile, this is part 3 of why I'm single. I just really feel like I'm too much. I'm a lot. And I just feel like I don't want to put that on somebody. And on one hand, I should say, that's not a bad thinking that you want to be considerate of someone else. But then again, it's like, but the foundation from which that comes from is why it's an issue. Because it really comes from a lot of hurt and just relationships that I've had where the message that was communicated was that I was too much for them to deal with. But like I said last week, which, go back and listen to Just Take That L, just because they didn't see, my worth, doesn't mean I'm worth any less than I am. It doesn't mean that I'm not a dope human being just because somebody else wasn't for me. And that's okay. And like, there is the part where I'm grateful things, didn't work out, because a lot of the growth I've had and a lot of whatever is as a result of the aftermath of all that. So it's like, I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I don't have even before the girl's dad died, we were cool. We had become friends again. We had hashed out all the foolishness. And so I don't say that I'm glad I didn't work out because I'm salty. I'm just saying it was just part of my journey and of discovering who I am and who I'm not and whatever. And so that's kind of where I'm at now in this journey of self-discovery and like, why do I do what I do, or what makes me whatever? What am I struggling with? How can I grow? Because that's the ultimate goal. How can we grow? Because that's obviously why you listen. If you knew to this, you might not have knew what this was going to be about. But this is what I do. I just share what I'm struggling with. This was a very uncomfortable subject to talk about because I don't think I've ever said that out loud about feeling like I'm too much. But you know what? I know there's somebody else that feels that way. And if me sharing it takes away maybe the shame that comes along with that or the whatever, then I'm glad I did. And I hope you remember that you are not too much. You are the right person. This dude Trent Shelton always be like, for the heart that's meant to love you. So follow him on Instagram. I don't know if he's still on Facebook, but I follow him on Instagram. He's super encouraging and talks a lot about just, healthy relationships and kind of that aspect of not allowing people to just walk all over you. And he talks about a lot of stuff, but what I remember kind of when I first started listening to him or following him or whatever is like, you're never too much for the heart that's meant to love you. People will have, it's just crazy because people will have you thinking you're asking for too much just because they're not equipped to give you what you need, and then it causes this issue within you. And that's probably why I feel like I'm too much, just because they weren't equipped to give me what I needed. And that's no shade to them, because whoever they're for, and they are equipped to give that person what they need, and that's great, but I'm just saying it creates, though, a lot of times we don't view it as, oh, they just weren't for me. It becomes what's wrong with me? We always internalize things that sometimes have nothing to do with us, and that's so unhealthy. And that's why I shared this, because we got to stop doing that. And sometimes a really good friend of mine and we used to I forget what we called it, but we're both external processors, and she and I would, if we were struggling with a lie we were believing, we would just tell the other person just to get it out so that the other person could speak truth or whatever, just to get it out. We knew it was a lie, but because we're external processors, we had to get it out. And so, maybe just getting it out is going to bring you freedom, me freedom, whatever, because it's a lie and it's been exposed. That's what we would call it, exposing the lies. And so I'm here for that. And like I said last week, I want to allow y'all, if y'all want, if y'all don't, then I won't do it. But I really want to, make this where y'all can be a part of this a little bit. I just got to figure out what that looks like. There's ways, but I'm just trying to think about how I want to do what. But I really do appreciate y'all listening while I'm just trying to figure out life. That's all I'm trying to do is just I'm just trying to grow. I'm just trying to be healthier. Like literally everything I'm talking about, and I'm sure you could tell because how's somebody gonna just make this up? But everything I talk about it's all about me because it's what I'm struggling with. I can't really talk about what somebody else is struggling with the same whatever it is you hear when I speak. So I appreciate y'all being on this journey with me. I really do hope that it's helpful to y'all, like for real. If it's not, then this is all in vain. So I really hope that you are listening because it's helpful, not because I'm anybody, but just because we growing together. I don't know all the answers. I'm just kind of trying to figure out how to be healthier and have healthier relationships and, whatever. So, like I said, I appreciate y'all. And thanks for listening to me vent, because that's really what this really is, me venting to y'all uninterrupted. And it's a beautiful thing because I don't like when I'm interrupting when I'm like in my feelings anyway. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all. Until next time.